and welcome to my video on painting foam RC planes with some newbie learnings I did because I'm a newbie. Newbie learning number 1, you take a white plane and you fly it in the snow or a cloudy sky. It's really hard to tell the orientation, which causes you to crash more, losing your confidence. As you can see here, I was pretty new at flying. As you can tell from that last video, I painted the top and bottom the same, and you can't tell if it's upside down or upside right. Painted this by hand, didn't work out so well. Don't use washable paint either, because it'll wash right off if it gets wet in the snow. So I went online and watched some videos, found most people were using spray bombs, so I tried it on this plane. Worked out pretty well, but I found that I got a lot of overspray and couldn't get a whole lot of detail in it, so I had to go find a better way. I found that maybe an airbrush might be the right way to go, but the price of the airbrush, special paint, special thinner, didn't make sense compared to a spray bomb, especially when you're just using dollar store foam board to build a plane. And then I found this set at our local KMS Tool and Equipment for the big old price of $29.99. I think it might actually have been $27, I can't remember for sure. Way cheaper than the $150 to $200 plus airbrushes I found seen everywhere else. A little more digging and I found out that you could use acrylic paint, and you can get that at the dollar store, same place you get the foam. Also, you can get it from $1 to like $5, which is way cheaper than a spray bomb. I also found out that you don't necessarily need the expensive airbrush thinner. You can use Windex. Now you're supposed to use the Windex with no ammonia, but they've changed the labeling so it doesn't say no ammonia. It doesn't say at all. But when you go on the website, there is actually ammonia in these, and it potentially could damage your airbrush. But for $29, I think I can probably paint a lot of planes and not have to worry about it. One additional tool you're going to need is one of these bad boys, Airbrush Cleaner. No matter how good you try and clean and wash out that airbrush, paint's going to get someplace and it's going to dry and it's going to become a pain in the butt. So save yourself a lot of anger, get one of these, clean it up, and you'll be very happy. Now for mixing the paint in the Windex, I find that it's almost 50-50. You want it the consistency of basically chocolate milk, which to me is almost like water when you look at it compared to the acrylic paint. Here I'm just putting on the second coat. Probably forgot to take the first coat on the wing. I find that it takes approximately 3 coats to get a solid color so it looks consistent and there's no white showing through. Throughout the video here I'll show you some different techniques that I've tried and what worked, what didn't work, and what you can do to make some cool looking airplanes. Just a couple of shots here of the paint going on. You can see how it goes on fairly easily, fairly quick. This is the fuselage. We'll turn and we'll do the top. And then we'll do the tail section, which is a really good view of how well this paint goes on. When your airbrush is clean, that is. If it gets jammed up, it doesn't go on this quick, but look how nice that goes on. Get a good solid color. It looks good when it's done. Here's one of the techniques I used. I printed off some crosses off my printer, cut them out, sprayed them with some spray adhesive, and attached them to the wings. On the underside there you can see some stripes. I'll show you those a little bit later. Here I'm just painting around the cross so that I get a good clean line, which I didn't really need to do because eventually that becomes red anyhow. Here's another technique I tried. I just used a pop box and cut down the side of it. It's not perfectly straight. Second thought, I should have used a straight edge when I cut it. But if you hold it where you want and you spray away from it, you get a really nice clean edge. You could do the same thing with painter's tape, but this is way easier. You can see my pop box isn't quite long enough for the ailerons on this plane, so all you got to do is take it off, slide it over, and line it back up. And it works great. The circles over the crosses, all I did for that was cut a circle out of a piece of paper, held it on there, and sprayed from the outside towards the cross to get a solid circle outline. And I didn't even use any adhesive or anything. You just got to be careful that the paper doesn't lift as the wind goes by it. Remember the airbrush cleaners I showed you a little bit ago? Here I'm trying to get a nice clean edge, and I'm fighting with the airbrush because the paint's not coming out quickly. Just stop, take a minute, clean it up, because it's so much easier to do this when the paint's coming out smooth and even. Get a much better job. Here's a good shot of the first coat going on. As you can see, it's a little blotchy and doesn't give an even coat. That's why I said you need 2, most likely 3, to get that solid color you're looking for. We talked about painter's tape a little bit earlier. Wanted to get a nice square on the tail, and this is what I figured was the easiest. Right here I pulled and I got a little bit of the paper off the foam. In hindsight, I should have probably pulled from the other side, and it wouldn't have pulled the paper off of that bevel cut. The cross, again, I used the spray adhesive on it, and I may have used a little bit too much because I kind of got to slowly work at it, but it comes out clean, and I was very happy with how this turned out in the end. Definitely would do it again. Here's the other side of the tail. Pulling the tape off again. You notice it didn't pull anything this time because there was no bevel cut for the tape to grab onto to pull the paper off of the foam. This is the bottom side of the wing. Again, you notice it's different than the top side, and I used the spray adhesive on these strips and cross as well. You can see I get some really nice clean lines and a great result in the end from this technique. Here's the other side of the wing as I pull the strips and cross off. With this technique, you can see I'm getting good clean lines, and you can pretty much print off any design you want, cut it out, spray adhesive it on there, paint around it, and get that design. Now, I haven't tried putting spray adhesive over color, but I have with the painter's tape, and we know it leaves the color on, so I have a pretty good suspicion the adhesive will do exactly the same thing, and you can get any design on your plane you would like. Here's the top of the wing. You can see the cross doesn't have quite as crisp lines. I started with the top of the wing, and I didn't use quite as much spray adhesive, and I sprayed towards the cross instead of away from it, so it did bleed a little bit underneath there, but overall, pretty good look, and when it's up in the air, you're never going to see that little bit. Here's the spray adhesive I used to apply the tin plates to the wings and the tail to get the designs that I was looking for. Here I'm just going to dry fit the eyes we're going to use instead of a windshield. Got these off the forum and resized them with pages on my iPad so they would fit the windshield just the way I wanted. Here we're just going to apply the spray adhesive to them literally because I don't want these guys to ever come off, hopefully. They try and run away, so I got to put my finger there. And then we will put them onto the plane. When we dry fitted this, I put a couple of reference marks with a pencil right on the edge so that I would get them where I wanted them, and it would be nice and easy. Then I just drew on the eyebrows with a Sharpie. Hope you liked my video. If you did, like, subscribe, tell your friends. More videos to come. Hopefully the wind will stop blowing and we'll be able to mate in this plane. See how good she looks in the air. Thanks for watching.